Okay, hi everybody. It's a bit like church, it fills up from the back. There's a few seats at the front here, you guys, so come on, some of you, come forward here and find a seat. Right, this whole thing is my idea to bring the development community and the council staff together to understand each other and speed things up. I've been at both sides, as Tamsin said, both as a developer and as a mayor. I've done residential and commercial subdivisions and buildings, so I get it. I've done resource consents from small ones to probably the biggest in the country when we did the Transpower one to bring the 400 kVA line up through Waikato and over the bridge. Today's audience is people who've, I recognise quite a few of them, don't recognise quite a few of you. There's people who've had the brains to use Brown and Thompson consulting engineers in the past, and there's people who haven't. Some of you are way bigger in scale than my development country, but some of you aren't. I've got some old friends in the audience and a number of people who I haven't met. There were some who had the wisdom to support my campaign and some of you who didn't, and I'll try and overcome my prejudice about that. However, I've asked you today because you're the leaders of the development community. You're the builders, the funders, the engineers, the one who take the risks to get things done. And I'll mention a couple of you that have just stood out. I went to the opening of the Warriors season launch last week, and it was at Manson's new building in One New Zealand, and that's terrific. And so well done, whoever's involved in that. We've got people from Tramco here, and look at the work they've done changing the viaduct. That's the sort of stuff that we want to do. These are Shane Brearley and Sam Stubbs are somewhere in the audience, and what they're doing with build to rent is pretty cool. They're getting more people through simplicity, living in the right places, making the most of brownfields. Graham Wall's here, someone, if you want to meet someone who's relentlessly optimistic, have a word to him. He'll cheer you up. There's the Hugh Green group who don't just build developments, their long-term thinking considers infrastructure well in advance. The blue-green networks and how important they are. Just a couple of ideas. There's no that I've left you out. That doesn't mean to say I'm not impressed with what you're doing. Auckland's at a critical moment. The face of our city's changing. The city link is finally opening. I've lived long enough. We have transport reform, integrated plans in the PC 120 to work through, as Phil said. And Phil, thanks for those few words. It was encouraging to hear you listening. My CCO reform has consolidated functions within council. And with AT coming back inside shortly, there'll be major changes. And it won't be like what it was before. Aucklanders are rightly asking what comes next. What will the future of development in the city look like? It's no secret that I think the council needs to be more open to development. We need to help you build. And that was good what Phil said. They are working on it. We are listening. But partnership is a two-way street. We're navigating significant changes from funding constraints to major policy changes. Today I'll set out how Auckland must grow, how we work together, how we get on with the job at building a city that works. I'm here for another 2.5 years, whether Wellington like it or not, so I'm determined to see us do better. There's 20 staff here today, and on your table, each of them, there'll be a list of who they are, and we're going to email that out to you, but they're here to listen to me as well and get focused as well, and to be more constructive and quick. No more box ticking. Each table's got a list of these staff, and you'll get it, and you'll be able to find out who they are, as Phil said. It's a bit like, the council's a bit like Siberia. You know where it is, we don't know who to call. But they've got their names and what they're doing here. It's like ringing Fletchers, you don't know either. So it's not just public, okay? Wellington politicians love grand visions. They love political speak. That's their first mistake. And the Infrastructure Commission gave them a blood nose last week, which is very good. These ridiculous big projects just to get re-elected are going to have to stop. We can't afford them. We don't want world-class infrastructure, we want affordable infrastructure. We don't have a world-class rugby team anymore. So we just need affordable, sensible structure. And once AT comes back, it's our job to come up with a 30-year plan, a transport plan. And that will be quite difficult for the government, because there are things in there that they've put their hands up for causes which have nothing to do with transport. And some of them will survive and some of them won't. As an engineer, developer and as mayor, when presented with a challenge, I start with one question. What is the problem you're trying to fix? Historically, council hasn't been good at this, but we're working on it. If you can't explain the problem, do nothing. Stop spending money. And there are three main problems which everyone in this room plays a part in. How do we plan for development in Auckland? How do we pay for development in Auckland? And how do we make it as easy as possible for development to happen that adds value to the city? We're all trying to agree on a plan that sequences growth sensibly. Growth must align with demand and infrastructure, which council mostly pays for. And often council tries to control too much, then developers lobby the National Party or weak councillors to bypass the plan. That's not a good route to a good result. Unplanned growth that's not aligned to infrastructure and funding is expensive. We can't afford it, and it adds to the already complaints about low productivity in our city. Having people living miles away from their work is not clever. Only three groups of people pay for development in this country: taxpayers, ratepayers, and you, the users. We're fixing decades of underinvestment in pipes and roads, so there's only so much development we can enable. Watercare are here in the room, and they've got a good grip on it. They will tell you what they can do and can't do. Rian's a very particularly easy person to spot, so stand up, Rian. But he's practical, as is his chief executive beside him. But we appreciate that we're constrained. Wellington says growth pays for growth, but it's just a slogan. It never does. We need a fair way to share the costs. I'm not at all keen on red tape. I've built my own buildings and I know how compliance sometimes stops you from delivering. It didn't help when the previous government brought in the Code of Compliance Certificates, CCCs. It sounded like a good idea to Stephen Joyce at the time. We only ever had one idea, and that was wrong. People used to be able to sweat equity to finish their homes. Most of my generation moved into the house when it was waterproof. And then we painted it, and then we put the jib board up, and we did those things. And then we finally got a Code of Compliance. Can't happen anymore. And that's another reason why people can't afford things. Just poorly thought out rules, and then an overly restrictive compliance from councils. And the banks have bought into that as well. So a lot of first-home buyers would love that opportunity today. But even the most radical RMA changes, there'll be some kind of compliance. So we have to work together to make these processes better, faster and cheaper for the whole system. If you've got an opinion about that stuff, let the government or let us know about it when we have consultation. The council needs to treat you as one customer, not 5 different departments with 5 different sets of rules. And as you heard from Phil, we are aligning ourselves to make it easier for you to do your work, but you also have to do it better. We're never going to get rid of the tensions between council and the sector entirely. Many of you always get annoyed that the council is too slow. We need to do better, and this is our challenge. Equally, the council will get frustrated that some of you don't appreciate how constrained we are, or understand the rules, or produce bloody crap applications as well. You know, so it's a two-sided thing here. This is how people get on. When the market recovers, we must be aligned on where and how we want the city to grow. We're getting better understanding of the problems and how we're going to fix them. It's easy to talk about problems, but it's hard to actually do something about them. In short, this will require the council to think differently. How do we spend our time and money? How we do urban generation? How it works with you, the council works with you, the sector. So I'm asking you to drop your weapons and help us hack away at the real problem. Since I became the mayor, I've emphasised doing things better, faster and cheaper. I even hear that words now from the council staff sometimes. They would never have said that in their lives before. But it's a good sign. These principles should drive our work at the council and yours across the sector. It means ending local and central government on dumb stuff, spending on dumb stuff, which they do. No more undeliverable mega projects. No more secretive master planning. No more bespoke cycleways that cost a fortune. Happy with cycleways? Not at $22,000 a metre. Secret projects, the government seriously thought they could come up with a harbour crossing without telling us. Like we'd suddenly find it there. It's in the wrong place, it's too expensive, it doesn't fulfil the problem it's trying to fix, it won't happen, and they need to talk to us. We will decide. This is our city. This is the biggest city. All the brains of the city are in this room here. Wellington's a failing village, and those politicians down there telling us what to do, and this civil servants should take the day off and go along the beach picking up lavatory paper and reminding themselves of fixing your own city first. That was a wander off from my speech, brother. The problems we're trying to fix better, faster and cheaper means designing solutions that solve real problems, not imaginary ones. And standardisation. AT are going to have that tattooed across their heads, standardisation. We have 27 different sorts of curbs. More standardisation to drive value for money and cost certainty. Creating clear accountability so that when anyone, can make a decision rather than being lost between 5 different parts of council. Phil is empowering people to make decisions. I'm very pleased about that. Accepting that growth has never paid for growth and it never will. We will need to recover more of the costs of growth. But funding approaches, there's some tension here. Funding approaches shouldn't raise DCs and growth charges so high they kill the viability of developments. That's just stupid. But both sides have to understand things have got to be paid for, and that puts some pressure on some different things out of town. Getting away from unplanned greenfields and focusing on growing in the existing urban areas is what we want to do. The days of buying a farm and lobbying the government to rezone it for having housing have to end. It's simply too expensive for everyone. There's probably people in here doing that, but think about another way of making money. When those things happen, the guys put in the road, but eventually those people want a swimming pool, they want a library, they want a bus service, and the rest of us have got that, don't want to pay for that. So think about that. My mistakes, and I've played plenty, have cost me money, and I've learned that better, faster and cheaper is the way to get things done. So council mistakes don't cost them anything. Quite a lot of people who work for very large companies and make mistakes don't pay for it. I've made mistakes and it's my money, so I know about this. Not one Wellington politician has built anything like myself or what you guys have. They've never had to learn from their mistakes. Putting better, faster, cheaper into practice means taking a very different approach to urban regeneration. That's why I've led the work on CCO reform, creating the Auckland Urban Development Office and the Property Department out of Iki Panuku. This has given Council much greater control over how we work. We're looking at how we can use Council's other functions to make a more integrated approach. The old Iki Panuku funding model didn't work. It relied too heavily on Council's own capital and our ability to leverage diminishing land holdings. It just wasn't sustainable. In fact, it was costly, slow and unreasonably relied on the ratepayer. It didn't meet the expectations of delivering faster, better and cheaper. But we need to be much more open to innovative approaches on financing and procurement, working with you to choose the right solution for an area. We want to stop the urban master planning. It's slow, complex and sits on a shelf unfunded. We want to use multiple smaller developers to fix town centres. Don't just wait for the big player to aggregate the land. We might aggregate it to help with smaller players do it. AUDO is open and it's got a good direction. It's not there yet, but the pressure's on to get it there. There are plenty of opportunities to work with us on putting this new approach into practice. City rail link. Apart from New York's 2nd Avenue subway extension, we're just about to open the most expensive rail tunnel per kilometre in the world with a CRL. I'm not proud of that. We need the intensification around these stations and the level crossing removals to be cheaper than they are. The council and the government can't do it without you. We have to work together to unlock these areas. There are plenty of opportunities for development around these new railway stations. Town centres, I've told the AUDO to update priority areas. These will span town centres and high-value opportunities across the length and breadth of the city. There are opportunities everywhere. The market is tough now, but when it returns, we must be ready. Making space for water. Many of us have a vivid memory of the floods. We know you have to build a city that's resilient to climate change. Council's Making Space for Water program offers opportunities for us to work together to make the most of downzoned land. Just to make sure you understand this, we are buying out some houses in flooded areas to create areas for the water. And there will be spare land coming back out after we've done that work. Keep in touch. If you don't know how, stand up, Craig, and this guy's not forgettable. If you think you've got opportunities for developing that thing, talk to Craig. We must make advantage of these major opportunities to improve urban generation. If we don't, Aucklanders will suffer. We want to make it better, faster and cheaper approach to doing work with council, to doing urban regeneration differently. There are two parts to fix. As I mentioned, they will both fail if we don't make it easy to work with council. Creating the AUDO and changing council culture is central to my plan of achieving this. We'll hear more from them shortly when they're up on the stage. But I want to make clear to all of you what my expectations are of them. I expect council to work on urban development that's in the interest of all Aucklanders, not just those of the government's donors. I expect them to make it easier to do business with the council, not harder. No more 5 managers asking for the same information. No more people applying different standards to the same task. No more urban designers killing a project because they don't like where the clotheslines are. We've been interfering. We'll treat you like a customer. I want the AUDO to be the front door. I know it's not there yet, but we have the structure in place now to do so. This doesn't mean they'll solve every complaint you have. What it does mean is that they'll work with the other parts of the council to navigate you where to go. What do I want from you? Your ideas, your energy. Complain to us constructively, hold us to account, but be realistic. There's no magic council money tree. If your development isn't economical, don't ask us to make it economical for you. We're never going to agree on everything, but if we adopt the right values, collaborate on a better approach and make dealing with council easier, I'm confident we can make real progress for Auckland. I want to build a green, efficient global city. I believe this can be our biggest cost-saving exercise of all. The fortunes from getting our land use right could surpass anything focusing on economic development alone. I've come up with a little chart, or someone in my office has, that I think might be helpful to underline how important all this is. Who's got the button? There we are, look at that. This is the Mayor's hierarchy of council needs. It starts right at the bottom, hard infrastructure, soft infrastructure, economic development. To finish, why are we doing this? Well, I live in an apartment in Ponsonby. It's a mix, expensive units, cheap units, young families, professional, old blokes like me. We see each other in lift, we look out for each other. A city that sprawls forever isn't a city, it's just a big suburb. And in my street, there is everything. There's multi-storey apartments, multi-storey offices, character homes, a panel beater, small factories, all on the one street. We all get on, and it hasn't depressed values. It's bloody expensive to live there. So don't feel bad about changes. Mixed living is good living. The government talks about growth, but what kind? Overpriced mega projects. Growth that favours donors over Aucklanders. Growth that will supposedly pay for growth, even though we all know that's nonsense. It's not the answer. I want growth that brings people together, rather than pitting generations of Aucklanders against each other. Growth that stops the eternal commute. If we get growth wrong, people will vote with their feet. Successive governments have done their best to mess up the economy, forcing young, aspiring Aucklanders abroad. We say that's OE, but many aren't coming back. We can't build a modern city without these young people. To keep them here, we need two things: well-paying jobs, and I've got a strategy for that. Watch the movement on the Tech Alliance, and somewhere they can actually afford to live with better transport options. Everyone in this room's got a part to play in making this happen. I want to build an efficient, green, global city open for business, and I think most of you will be on board with that. So if you haven't picked up on it by now, here's the theme here. We're going to fix this stuff, and we're going to do it by working together. If Auckland speaks with one voice, Wellington can't ignore us, and we will never have their attention more than over the next few months. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.